Robbins Barstow was a lifelong, passionate advocate for whales. During the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, he produced a series of documentary films about the plight of whales and the global movement to save them.
Welcome to Wethersfield Live with your hosts, Rick Gary and Mary Beth Maluccio. Tonight's special guests, Meg and Robbins Barstow, discussing the Chinese river dolphin. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Rick Gary and Mary Beth Maluccio. Tonight's special guest, the Wethersfield under-11 girls soccer team.
We have Dr. Robbins Barstow and his wife Meg Barstow, who are going to talk about their trip to China, and which was back in 1985, I believe, and also...
Which is now 22 years ago. Can you believe it?
That's right.
I can remember 1985 like it was yesterday.
Not me. And we're also going to... the reason that this all came about was the unfortunate news recently that the dolphin in China that recently went extinct, that Dr. Barstow is going to talk about. But before we do, we like to mention on the air when something special happens in town. And a couple weeks ago we mentioned how the high school wrestling team won their conference championship.
Yes.
Well, we had another team win.
The hockey team.
And actually, well, right now, today, Kenny Velez, the wrestler we talked about, is in Virginia Beach, Virginia, wrestling in the senior national championships. The best seniors from all over the country meet in Virginia Beach and wrestle. So
congratulations, Ken.
First time that's happened, I think, in Wethersfield's history.
Wow. History continues to be made.
But then we had another team, an underdog team last week, Wethersfield High School hockey team.
Woohoo!
Won the state championship.
Yes.
Wow.
Nobody expected it out of the blue.
It was excellent.
It was amazing. And we actually have a little footage here that we're going to show you, just about a 20-second clip of the final score, the final goal. And we're going to let Bernie set that up. But what's amazing, it was played at Yale, and there was 2 busloads of fans that showed up. Incredible fan support.
I love the way they do that. They get a bus to go and watch the game. And
really supported the team. So let's see if we can get that clip now. This is the volume.
Mahalik. He was to the Rogier up the Spellman.
I think this is
That's my cousin Pat.
He hits Mahalik.
Look at that. He comes from the corner. Look at that.
Andrew
You can see the fans going crazy.
Second goal. Look at these Eagle fans go crazy. The Eagles take a 3-1 lead. That was a beautiful pass from Spellman.
My God. You see Muck coming down here too. Spellman gave him a hell of a pass. Here goes Mahalik riding his guy off. Coming down
that was
to the side.
The third goal. And Wethersfield went on to win the state championship down at the Yale hockey rink.
Eagles.
So another big congratulations to the Wethersfield High School hockey team.
And we also had a swimmer that placed #1 in the state.
Really?
Yeah, Jamie Francis. The whole team didn't go to states, but a few kids. It's an individual sport, as you know, and Jamie Francis is #1 for his 100-yard butterfly is his specialty.
And we give congratulations to Jamie.
Very talented
This has been a great year for high school sports, and it's been a great year for some of the sports that you haven't heard about over the last few years. With wrestling, with hockey, swimming. So it's fantastic. Some of those other sports are getting some recognition, which is great.
Good job.
Very good. So now we're going to go to our main topic. Right?
Okay,
You
and
have
our,
nothing
and
else to
our
say?
guests. I always have something else to say, but I want to save as much time as we can
Yes,
for our
for our
special
guests.
guests.
All right, well, let's introduce our guests now, if we can. We have with us tonight Dr. We have with us tonight, there we go,
There.
Dr. Robbins Barstow and his wife, Meg. Welcome to the program.
Welcome.
Great to see you. We
see you.
appreciate this opportunity
Welcome,
to be
Meg.
with you.
I'll shake from a
It's fun to
distance.
be here and see where that famous smile comes from.
Oh,
Well,
thank
thank
you.
you. Oh, she's talking to
Thank
you.
you. Oh, yeah, she met me.
So now, why don't we start with a little history about yourselves and
Who wants
how
to
you came
start?
about this.
Yeah. Well, we're longtime Wethersfield residents. We moved here in
1951.
1951, so we've been here, 56 years now.
Wow.
More than half a century, and we just love Wethersfield and everybody, and, and we love Wethersfield Community
We could do a
Television.
show on that, how Wethersfield has evolved over 56 years.
And our 3 children went all through the schools here.
Wow.
So,
That's
great
excellent.
town.
Great.
And after they got through school and everything, then going on to their own careers, we thought maybe we'd like to see if we couldn't see a little of the world. And we've had some wonderful opportunities over the years to do a lot of traveling around the globe here. And we've had very special experiences, although this one that we wanted to share with you and talk with you about tonight was exceptional. Of course, we've shown a number of our Barstow Travel Adventure
absolutely.
videos.
When we went on camping trips with our children.
Yes, that was a regular feature here at Channel
Yes.
14 on Sunday afternoons, right?
Yeah.
For those of you who didn't see it, it was camping in the 48 states.
Yeah.
And I've watched it, and it was amazing. A little film of every one of the 48 states, you and your family going through, which was great. That
Which
you
is
shared
now
that with
going
us
to be
Yeah, it's fun.
archived, right?
Yes, oh yes.
in the
at-
Library of Congress.
In the Library of Congress.
Yes, the Library of Congress has expressed an interest in preserving home movies, and they had an opportunity, or they asked us, I asked them if they'd be interested in the ones that we've taken over the years, because they tell stories and they
Sure.
represent middle-class American family during the 20th century, and I have 70 years of films, and
Wow.
they have agreed to add that to their collection for their film preservation program on movies. So that's
That's
kind of
excellent.
exciting and fun.
Yes, that is. Well, this
So
story
what
here
trip is
in
it you're going to
particular.
tell us about? What trip are you?
Well, the one trip that we wanted to let you know about was this one to China. Meg, there was a special reason that
Yes, we heard that you have a special reason to go
I
to
do
China.
have a special reason. The reason is that I was born in China and haven't been back since I was 4 years old. And when we retired, I figured it was about time we go.
Wow.
That's
So
fantastic.
that was one of our main reasons for going to China. But I think I need to explain a little about how it happened to be born in China.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Rob is going to show some pictures that I have here. The first one is of my,
Can you see that?
Well,
Is that the right
we're gonna
camera?
there we
There we
go.
go.
there.
about 100 years ago almost, my mother graduated from Mount Holyoke and she went to China to teach in a girls' school, Bridgman School there. And the picture shows her with one of her Chinese students.
Wow.
And she went under a missionary board that had one very strange rule. The women should not get married for 7 years.
Really?
Now, I don't think any young women in America now would
go for that rule?
do that. But my mother signed it, and after a couple of years, I must tell you why they had that rule. Because they were afraid that their young women teachers, after they had spent all this money to send them here and
Right.
to China and train them, that they might marry and leave the profession.
Oh, okay.
So there was
They were
reason
saving
behind
the
it.
teachers. Okay.
my father was hired by the Chinese government to teach in the Nanyang College, civil engineering. And before long,
And this is a picture of him?
This was all in Shanghai, the same town, city where my mother was. And here he is, young man just out of Cornell.
Wow.
And he met my mother and was infatuated. And
But he had to wait 7 years.
He had to wait 7 years.
Wow.
It was a long courtship, but they ended up with a wonderful marriage. And my sister and I were born there. And we have a little picture here. Thank you, Rod. I'm the one in the middle here.
Can you see that? Oh, there we go. Oh, that's good.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you're in the middle, in the back.
Doesn't that look just like her?
And my sister is on the left in the back.
Uh-huh.
My mother started a little kindergarten for the neighborhood children and us, and this was in 1925. This picture.
Wow.
Just before we came to the United States. There was a lot of political unrest there then, and then they decided they wanted to bring up their children here in America. Mm-hmm. So we did come back, and many years later, after Robbins and I were married, after we had children, after we retired, we decided it was time to go to China again. And you can imagine my excitement when we found the street here, Huashanru, the street where we should find the university, Nanyang, where I was born.
Oh, really?
Wow.
So we walked through the gate, and there we were on the campus, which is a huge university now. It's really a great place. And we saw the building, the location of the building where I was born.
Okay.
There's a faculty house there, and they had just torn it down a couple of years before, sadly.
Oh, that's too bad.
But they built an educational building there in its place, and this is good because we were both in education.
Sure.
So I didn't feel as bad as I do.
Right,
She
right.
had visited her roots.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Now,
Were there other highlights of your trip?
Yes, there were. And in fact, I have several pictures.
What a coincidence.
The first one I want to show you is a picture of the Great Wall. And I have proof that
Isn't that cool?
that we climbed it.
wow.
Can you see?
I
There we
climbed
are.
the Great
I
Wall.
climbed the Great Wall.
Proof of it. The Great Wall is
Well, where's
hard
that-
to climb.
Where's
It
that
has
picture
steep-
again? Can
it
I,
He's going to put it back on.
It has
That's-
steep, it
that
has
was the
steep parts to it.
so the wall had holes in it.
Yeah. Well, this is
It
yeah.
was built as a defense
Yeah, it
to
was a
defend the country.
Okay, so you could see through
the
it in
northern
certain
part
sections.
of the country to protect it from the any invaders.
Could you sit on the wall? Is that what you're
They're
doing?
walking on the wall. They're on the wall.
We're on the wall.
You're
and
standing on it?
Yes.
Well, there's
you sitting
It's thousands of miles long.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess I never pictured it something like so pretty.
It goes
Well,
up
it
and
is
over
pretty,
hills
yeah.
and valleys.
Yeah,
And you don't walk on the Great Wall. You climb the Great Wall.
I see.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's steep.
Is it?
The wall is several thousand miles long and was built over several hundred years.
Right.
And it was a main part of it was built by Emperor Qin, who was the first real emperor of China in 221 BC.
Oh, wow.
And he has his tomb in Xi'an. And we went then to Xi'an, where in about 40 years ago, some farmers digging in the fields came across these large sculptures of a large size as a human of warriors and horses and others as they were digging.
Wow.
And following that, the government has been working on digging up these
Amazing statues.
mysterious sculptures from under the ground, which are the ones that were made to protect Emperor Qin in
his
future
tomb?
life.
Wow.
Like
In the
part of his tomb.
It was
Okay.
right next to the tomb.
Interesting.
I don't know if
That's
they
kinda
thought
like
they
in
would come
Egypt.
alive again or what, but anyway, they
But he
were.
wanted to have some warriors next to him just in case.
Yes.
This was 2,000 years ago.
Wow.
They've lost to
Yeah.
history for
Yeah.
2,000
Yeah.
years.
Wow.
Buried.
Yeah.
Right.
The next special thing I'd like to show you is an animal which they were afraid would become extinct, but because of the efforts of the Chinese and people around the world, the pandas are now safe from extinction, aren't they, Rowdy?
Yes, they're still endangered,
Okay,
but
sorry.
they are
Yeah.
recovering, and this is a success story in terms of different species of life on our planet.
I remember when we took in Yin and Yang, or whoever they were.
At the National Zoo.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
We
they've,
took
they've
them
been
in.
able to breed them
Yes.
in captivity, and to preserve their habitat down in the southern part of China,
Sure.
where there isn't much industry now, so they hope to keep that where they live in the wild and have captive and wild. That's
And my last picture to show you, Robbins is the movie man and I'm the picture person. This is the Li River, beautiful fairy-like place in southern China, near Guilin. And when you look at those mountains with their peaks, they make you think of China, because artists and photographers are always taking pictures there, and
Sure.
that's our idea of what China should look like.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
And
What a fascinating.
we went on a lovely boat trip, and you can see in the middle a lone fisherman there and some water buffaloes on the shore.
Oh, that's water buffalo.
Well, we also went for a three-day cruise on the Yangtze River following this, and Robbins has more to say about that, I'm sure, because he had a special reason for seeing that part.
Isn't that
Now,
one of the
What
biggest?
year was this that you were there?
85.
1985.
It was right after he retired. I retired from Head Start, and he retired from Connecticut Education Association.
So this was one of your first trips in retirement.
Yeah.
yes.
Wow.
First overseas.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Except
fantastic.
when oh, well, no. Yeah.
Yeah,
First
Okay.
First in our retirement overseas.
Yeah.
Well, you know that I've always, for 30 years, more than 30 years, I've been greatly interested in cetaceans. That's whales, dolphins, and porpoises. There are over 80 different species of this kind of marine mammal that lives mostly in the oceans of the world. And they're big, from blue whale, 100 feet long, to the small dolphins and porpoises. And all different species. There are some 80 different species, different kinds. When I heard that when we figured that we'd be going to China, I wondered if there's any connection between cetaceans and China. And I did some research in all our books and so on, and I found out that there was one special kind of dolphin that lived in the Yangtze River basin. Most dolphins are in the ocean, but this was a dolphin that lived for millions of years in the Yangtze River, freshwater.
Freshwater dolphin.
And there are 3 other species of freshwater dolphins in India and South America too. But I was fascinated by this, and I found out that there was, in January of 1980, Chinese researchers from the Institute of Hydrobiology in Wuhan, which is a city near the southern part of the Yangtze River, had captured and are now maintaining a Chinese river dolphin, the first of its species in captivity. And I did further research on this kind of dolphin, the Chinese river dolphin. I'd never really heard about it before, but it says here that there was a place at the hydrobiology that they had a picture taken by Chen Pixun of the Institute. Chen Well, with that information, when we went on this 3-day trip down the Yangtze, I said, I wonder, do you think that dolphin is still there? This was 5 years after it had been captured. Do they still have an interest in it? And so when we ended up in Wuhan, the Chinese tourist agency is just incredible.
Yeah,
they want to do anything and everything they can to please interest tourists.
Yeah,
so
wonderful.
I told the guide, I have my diary here of what happened on that day. When we got to Wuhan, it was in the morning, and I started asking the local guide if she knew anything about a hydrobiology institute, and someone named Chen. Well, during the morning, they took us on a bus trip, the whole group, to visit a kindergarten and a factory and so on, as they do. But then when we got back to the hotel at noon, the local guide told me that, let's see, here it is. The local guide woman informed Robbins and Meg that she had contacted the local Chinese International Tourist Office, and they have arranged for us to be met at the Institute, which is near Wuhan University, by Professor Chen. That was the name of the person that I'd researched and heard about.
You think that would have happened here? That never would have.
They're so caring about the
Wow.
And so he was the world expert on it. So we took a taxi out there after lunch to this institute, and there at the gate, Professor Chen and the institute's other staff people were waiting for us. It turned out that Professor Chen was a woman. I had no idea, but she was very lovely.
Not me.
And a scientist, a great scientist. She was the world expert on the baiji, the Chinese river dolphins. And she gave us some literature all about the baiji and a book that she'd written about it. And a whole lot of
she must have been
postcards
thrilled to
and
find
so on.
someone who was so interested
Exactly.
from so far away.
Yeah. They were thrilled as we were. It was a double excitement because we came all the way from Connecticut and the East Coast of the United States.
And you had heard about her and her dolphin.
Yeah, and she showed us stuffed baiji, dead one that was on taxidermy, there,
Sure.
and showed us some other things. And then now we've heard about a dolphin named Chi-Chi. Oh yes. Is Chi-Chi still alive? Oh, yes, Chi-Chi's still alive. We were so excited to find out that here, after all this time, we were going to be able. She said, would you like to see Chi-Chi? Oh, boy, we had our cameras. I had my movie camera. Meg had her Snapchat camera.
Wow.
And so they took us over to this place. It was about a mile outside of the university campus there, but they had this special place set up with a great big outdoor tank. It was covered and protected from the weather, but it was an outdoor tank. And after we talked some more with them, we went in, and there was this dolphin swimming around in this pool. And I took movies of it, and I say in my diary that if these movies come out, they will be of historic significance. Unique and historic footage.
Exactly.
Because the baiji was known then to be very close to extinction. They were still trying to do everything they could, but they couldn't find a mating pair to breed in captivity, and they couldn't find any place off the river where the baiji could be allowed to live. The river had become so polluted, so commercially industrial boats.
They're making a big hydropower. They're making a dam out of it, and it's a huge project now.
So it was just exciting to see this living specimen, and it turned out that was the last living captive specimen of a baiji ever to exist.
Wow.
This Chi-Chi, the one we saw, died in 2002. But we kept in touch with Professor Chen and with another young student named Wang Ding that we had met there over the years, and we helped encourage them. They had international conferences and other ways to see what they could do to try to save the baiji. And so we had sort of a personal touch there. But then later, last December, there appeared in the Hartford Courant this news story, rare white dolphin found to be extinct.
Wow.
And that hit me like a thunderbolt, because here we had been there and seen this
22
dolphin.
years ago.
Yeah, 22 years ago. And now they had had a big expedition. It spent 6 weeks, international expedition, scientists from around the world, going up and down the Yangtze for 6 weeks, trying to find a trace of the Baiji. They couldn't find a single one. They did find some finless porpoises, several hundred of them, which is another cetacean that lives in the river. But it meant it was gone forever. And that means that you are looking at two people who did something that you or our children or our grandchildren are never going to be able to do again. We saw a live Chinese river dolphin, Baiji, before it became extinct.
Right.
After millions of years. And this is
Really sad, isn't it?
That is sad.
Yeah.
it hit me so hard that I wanted to see what I could do.
So does this mean we're never going to see a Chinese
No,
river dolphin?
nobody's gonna be able to
Not
see
even
it.
on Channel 14?
Well, you're going to be able to see pictures of it. But
Maybe
not-
some live
not
footage
live
from
one.
Robbins Barstow?
Yeah. But there are some other dolphins that are close to extinction now, too. The finless porpoise that lives there on the Yangtze River. And there's another one in the Gulf of Mexico called the vaquita that's very close to extinction. And so I thought maybe if I produced a video using the footage that I took when I was over there, that might help to make people aware of the danger of extinction of these very unusual animals and become more conservation conscious. I meant to mention that in this news story in the Current, it refers to Wang Ding, a Chinese hydrobiologist and co-leader of expeditions. He's now the assistant director of the institute.
Oh,
he was the young
wow.
student that we saw and had our pictures taken with
Wow.
22 years ago.
And he's still there.
And now he's the one that's concerned about trying to preserve the fin as well. Maybe at this point we could have what actually is the world premiere presentation of this video. It was done,
go help with
the
that.
introductory part was done here in this studio, and I'm very appreciative of Wethersfield Community Television for helping me with it. I've sent copies to China, to other scientists, to Switzerland, where they were concerned about this. And on next week, I'm going to be taking the video into Wethersfield High School and showing it to the science club.
Oh, wow.
So they'll have a chance to see it
Do they have a marine biology
hopefully it'll
class?
stimulate discussion about what do we do to keep other species from dying out on our dangerously threatened planet.
Wow. Well, we keep assuming that somebody's paying attention to that. Someone in the world can do something about it, but they couldn't.
Well,
They
Baiji-
tried.
They tried.
Yeah, they tried. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay, this
Going to take a minute. Greetings. I am Robbins Barstow, an 87-year-old retired educator living in Wethersfield, Connecticut, USA. and I'm recording this introduction in the studio of Wethersfield Community Television on January 30th in the year 2007. A month and a half ago, on Thursday, December 14th, 2006, a news story appeared in the Hartford, Connecticut Current with the headline, "Rare White Dolphin Found to be Extinct." It was an Associated Press story, dateline Beijing, China, and the first paragraph read, "A rare, nearly blind white dolphin known as the baiji that had survived for millions of years is effectively extinct. An international expedition declared Wednesday after ending a fruitless six-week search of the Yangtze River habitat of this dolphin." This news struck me particularly hard because I am one of the very few Americans who has ever actually seen one of these rare species of dolphins alive. I have been an eyewitness to extinction. I've been actively involved in the worldwide whale conservation movement for more than 30 years. I'm Director Emeritus of the Cetacean Society International, which I co-founded back in 1974, and I've attended many meetings of the International Whaling Commission 4 times as a member of the United States delegation. Cetacean is the scientific name for all whales, dolphins, and porpoises which have been living in the seas of our water planet for millions of years. Cetaceans are air-breathing mammals with long, flat, horizontal tails. They give birth to their young and nurse them underwater, and they have brains that are as comparable in size and complexity to the human brain. They range in size from the great blue whale, which is 100 feet long, all the way down to the smaller porpoises and dolphins. Among the 80 different species of cetaceans, there are the large baleen whales, but then there are 70 different kinds of smaller toothed whales. And the largest of the toothed whales is the sperm whale, which grows up to be 60 feet. But most of the others are dolphins and porpoises of a smaller size. And there are some very unique species among these toothed whales, like the narwhal with its long tusk here that lives up in the Arctic. But I'd like to call your attention up here to this strange-looking cetacean here. This white dolphin up here in the corner is one of the very rare and unusual family of dolphins known as the freshwater river dolphins. It has this long, elongated, narrow beak and a bulbous forehead, and it's in that family that the baiji was found. This special family of freshwater river dolphins developed millions of years ago in rivers in 2 separate parts of the world. There are these 4 different species in Latin America and South America. The Amazon River is the habitat for the Amazon River dolphin, known as the botu. And then in South America, in Argentina, there's the La Plata River dolphin, or the Franciscana. That's in the continent of South America. But then, interestingly enough, the other place in the world where there are river dolphins are over in Asia. And in India, we have the Ganges and Indus River dolphins, known as Susu. And then up in China, that was the home of the Yangtze River dolphin, or the baiji. The other 3 species of river dolphins in Latin America and India seem to be maintaining their own, although they certainly are threatened. It's only the one in China, the baiji, that has now become extinct. In the Chinese city of Wuhan, on the lower part of the Yangtze River, there's a world-famous Institute of Hydrobiology as part of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Scientists there for the last several decades have been studying the baiji and trying to find ways that they might be able to save it. But as the numbers kept decreasing from maybe a few hundred 3 decades ago or 20 years ago down to just a handful in recent years, international concern about the baiji rose. And there was a Swiss businessman and naturalist named August Pflüger, who formed an internet organization with the website baiji.org and set up a foundation to help carry out, with the cooperation of the Wuhan Institute of Hydrobiology, an international survey of the river in the fall of 2006. Dr. Wang Ding, China's leading baiji expert and the deputy director of the Institute, led the survey. In this photo, Dr. Ding is shown on the left, along with whale naturalist Randall Reeves and expedition coordinator August Pflüger. They assembled a team of 25 scientists from 6 countries: China, the United States, Britain, Japan, Germany, and Switzerland. And they spent 6 weeks traveling up and down the Yangtze River, more than 1,000 miles between the Three Gorges Dam and Shanghai, with 2 boats using the most sophisticated visual and audio equipment. They did cite more than 300 Yangtze finless porpoises, which is another species of cetacean which also has lived for many years in the Yangtze River. But they didn't find a single specimen of the baiji in this entire 6-week trip. Industrialization, boat commerce, fishing, and pollution simply eliminated the habitat which the baiji was dependent upon. And so they found it was simply gone forever, which is a real tragedy in this planet of ours at this 21st century. The demise of the Chinese river dolphin has a deep personal significance to me, because 22 years ago, back in 1985, my wife and I had made a trip to China, and as part of that trip we took a tour on a cruise ship down the Yangtze River. We ended up at Wuhan, and by special arrangement we managed to make a contact there, and were able to actually go over to the Institute of Hydrobiology outside the city and talk there with the scientists who for so long had been studying and working to try to save the baiji. I had read that there was a living captive specimen of the baiji there at that institute, though I didn't know whether it was still there when we went in 1985. But we did, after talking with these scientists, actually get to go and see this baiji, which was living there in a tank being maintained in good health. They called it Chi-Chi. And we had a rare experience of actually seeing this very rare and unusual dying species of dolphin there at Wuhan. The scientists that we talked with included Professor Chen Pixun and a young researcher named Wang Ding, who at that time was a student at the Institute. In this photo with us on the left are Wang Ding and Professor Chen Pixun. I had the rare opportunity and privilege of actually taking some motion pictures, 16 8mm film, of the Institute and the scientists, and of Chi-Chi, this last living captive baiji Chinese river dolphin. And that's what I would like to share with you now in this video. I'd like to show you the films that we took 22 years ago. Actually, this dolphin, Chi-Chi, died in 2002, 17 years after these pictures were taken, the last of his kind.
We flew south again to Chongqing, a mountainous industrial city set on a rocky promontory at the juncture of the Jialing and Jiangjiang rivers. We had another opportunity to see giant pandas at the zoo in Chongqing, which is located in Sichuan province, where most of the few remaining wild pandas live. Chongqing was the embarkation point for our long-anticipated cruise down the Jiangjiang River for 850 miles, including the famous Three Gorges.
The name of this river,
formerly the Yangtze River, but most of them told it Changjiang River.
It's the longest river in China and the third longest in the world, I know. How long is it in miles?
4,000 miles.
And where did we go on this cruise?
From Chongqing here to Wuhan.
Exceeded in length only by the Nile and the Amazon, the Changjiang River flows from the mountains of Tibet all the way across China to the East China Sea, just north of Shanghai. We disembarked in the rain at one river town. We made our way up the slope and through a narrow, crowded marketplace where we had the opportunity to exchange silent greetings with venerable Chinese villagers. On the third day of our cruise, after leaving the last of the gorges, we came to the locks and giant dam of the Gajoba project at Yichang City. The locks here have one of the highest displacement levels in the world. Mud-colored waters rushing down its sluiceways provide tremendous amounts of power for electricity, flood control, irrigation, and navigation.
The city of Wuhan is the site of the first bridge to be built across the Changjiang River and also of the first giant television tower in China. It was here at Wuhan that we secured permission to make a personal visit to the Institute of Hydrobiology, a campus of Wuhan University, some miles out from the center of the city. Here we were introduced to Professor Chen and several of her colleagues, who are now recognized as the foremost authorities in the world on the Chinese river dolphin. And in a large pool inside this well-guarded, roof-covered enclosure, we found being maintained alive and well the only living specimen of a Chinese river dolphin existing in captivity any place in the world today. It was a rare and fascinating sight. This animal had been obtained 5 years ago in January 1980 from some river fishermen who had caught it alive in a pool of shallow water near a sandbank. It had been severely wounded by hooks during capture and required very special care for some months after it had been taken to the Hydrobiology Institute. It was treated with Chinese medicines until the wound finally healed, and since then it has gained weight and remained healthy and active. Among the playthings placed in the pool with the dolphin from time to time is a floating rubber tube, which it sometimes of its own accord picks up with its dorsal fin and pulls around the pool. Now here is Professor Chen and Mr. Ren Jun.
This dolphin is reported in the Yangtze River of China, only in the north and the mid.
What is the name of this dolphin?
This dolphin name is Chi-Chi.
And where did you catch it?
We caught it in 1980 and catch it in the Yangtze River nearby Dolphin Lake.
I understand it's the only
one in the world in captivity.
That's remarkable.
We treat it to use Chinese medicine for 1 year. He is here.
Chi-Chi is a male Chinese river dolphin. Bioacoustical studies have been made of its echolocation abilities during feeding, because like other river dolphins, its eyesight appears to be extremely limited.
An international workshop to seek ways to preserve and protect the Chinese river dolphin was held here in Wuhan in 1986. It is still hoped that though there are now maybe fewer than 100 of these rare animals still in existence, some way can be found to prevent their actual extinction.
We know now that the Beiji was not able to survive. With its habitat gone, there was no way to save it, despite all the efforts of the people at the Institute. But there is a postscript that I'd like to add to this account, because there was another kind of cetacean that lived there in the Yangtze River and still does. It has not yet become extinct, and there is a possible hope for keeping that one from becoming extinct. It's called the finless porpoise. It looks a little bit like a, well, in this book about whales, they have some photos here of the finless porpoise. There are finless porpoises that live in various places, but there is this freshwater finless porpoise that they look a little bit like the white beluga, but gray and black in color. And they found over 300 of them. They cited over 300 of them in that expedition that they made up in the Yangtze River just this past fall. So then they've had more luck. Recently, there was a public television program broadcast over PBS about China, inside China, China from the inside. And there was one segment in that program where they showed Dr. Wang Ding. He was the young student that we talked with back 22 years ago when we were there visiting the Institute, my wife and me. And now he is the deputy director of the Institute, and he has been working on ways to try to avoid what happened with the Beiji and to find some place that the harbor porpoise, or the finless porpoise, could be kept in a reserve someplace off the river that where the water wouldn't be so polluted and disturbed, and where they could have a breeding farm. They did manage to capture a male and female finless porpoises, and the female became pregnant, and they took her to this reserve where they have set up a breeding colony that has the possibility of keeping that species alive. So I'd just like to throw that out as a postscript, but then there is something else that needs to be said. Recently, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature held a meeting, a conference just this month, January of 2007, in La Jolla, California, where they had whale scientists from all over the world assessing the different populations of cetaceans that exist today. And there is one species of cetacean now that is more endangered even than the finless porpoise in the Yangtze, and that's the vaquita. One of the scientists who was on the expedition that declared the Beiji to be functionally extinct now was at this conference. He talked about the Beiji and the fact that there is this other little porpoise called the vaquita that lives only in the Gulf of California, and which now is down to very, very few numbers due to overfishing and habitat loss. And the International Union for Conservation of Nature, which prepares a census book about dolphins and whales in the world and all of their status, has concluded that this is the dolphin, the next species of cetacean that is most in danger of becoming extinct. The next, we haven't had extinctions for quite a while here, but now in this century, we have the problems of trying to avoid extinction, and they are seeking to raise public consciousness in the wake of the Beiji about the vaquita in the Gulf of California. The habitat of this most endangered cetacean now the vaquita, is in just one place in the world. It's in the Gulf of California, which is part of Mexico. And it is there now, up in the north part of this little Gulf of California, that the focus of scientists around the world and conservationists are efforts to try to prevent the extinction of the vaquita and to end, if they can, find some way to not have.
Were they looking for another dolphin, maybe as a partner? Is that what the reason was?
Yeah. In her book about the Baiji, Chen Bixun talks about how they tried to find additional other dolphins. They did once find another female, but it died, and they weren't able to set up a breeding pair. It just, it was just an impossibility.
Sure.
I think no matter what they might have been able to, how much they might have spent on it to do it. I think it's conceivable that the other one, the finless porpoise, they could find a breeding place off the Yangtze River up in a reserve someplace, so we're looking to that. And this is something the world is going to have to deal with now. The world is becoming crowded with people, and we've got different forms of life, and there are going to have to be judgments made, and this is a very critical time, the 21st century, when the kinds of life that continue to exist on our planet are going to decrease and be limited, and I think people need to think about the effects of extinction in today's world.
And the quality of the waterways, you know, the waterways.
Well, if you look recently, too, President Bush has talked about eliminating the status of endangered species on the bald eagle and the coyote, the wolf. And these are examples of how we can save different species.
Yes.
That if people try, the bald eagle is flourishing now. The wolf, the gray wolf in the west is doing fantastic.
Yeah.
So there are ways to...
And the panda, too.
The panda?
Yeah, the panda, yeah.
So there are success stories that you can look at. The salmon in many rivers that were extinct almost. Now there's salmon running again. So I think all hope is not lost, but it's...
No, but it doesn't happen by accident. We've got to be informed, and we've got to be willing to perhaps give up some things in order to preserve others.
Right. Which is not easy for people to do sometimes.
No, it isn't.
And it's expensive. I mean, how do they raise money to do these kinds of programs?
Well, there's a new organization that's been called vaquita.org.
Okay.
And they've got some people that are going around to schools and other organizations and foundations to try to raise money.
Raise money and awareness.
To save it.
To work on it. And
now,
Cetacean Society International, our
that's right.
Connecticut-based whale group, is working on this too.
Excellent.
I do have one more question. It seems like the Chinese government put a lot of time and effort into, because a lot of people may think that, you think about China and you may have a notion that they're so much different, but it sounds like there was a lot of effort put into saving this dolphin and trying to...
They did. And it's a triage thing where you sometimes have to decide. I mean, you can't save everything, so you have to make some decisions here. The panda, that was realistically feasible.
Right.
The Baiji, I think, was not, and though they did make all kinds of efforts, it was impossible, but it is possible for the finless porpoise maybe. And the Chinese government is very much concerned about the environment in some ways. In other ways, they're very destructive of the environment. Just like America.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think it's like many ways. And you look at the panda bear, it's a national symbol for China. It's something people associate with China.
Yes.
So they work very hard
Yeah.
to save that. But in this, like you say, just like in many countries, industry, money, economy comes first. So big dams and flooding rivers, and you see that in countries all over, and you lose habitat. So it's a very, very tough situation. We only have a couple of minutes left, actually. So I don't know if you have some closing remarks that you'd like to make.
I'd just like to express appreciation to Wethersfield Community Television and you guys for giving us this opportunity to share this really extraordinary experience. And we do hope that it will help to create a greater awareness of the kinds of life-saving and life-preserving concerns that we need to really think about in our 21st century now.
And so many of us don't, you know, we're busy and we have a lot going on in our lives, and we don't think for a minute to stop and think about extinction, real extinction.
Well, this is probably
I mean, when I think of extinction, I think of dinosaurs, you know. I don't
the
think
dodo
of,
bird.
No, that's still alive and well.
This is what we call this eyewitness to extinction.
That's
and
right.
This is
It's the first time in recent history that
in
we've
like
heard
the
of an
21st
extinction.
century. That just
That's right.
that does.
People
blow my
don't
mind.
think of it as touching their lives.
That's right.
Right.
And so we need more awareness.
Right. Well, we appreciate you coming on here and sharing your trip and sharing your story with us. It's been fantastic. Now, I will say we will be hopefully playing this video on Wethersfield Television as a regular program in the upcoming months, so watch for that. And also, I just want to, we have 2 minutes left.
When are we going to be on again?
Well, I just want to first say the highlights of the hockey game you saw earlier. The month of April, we will be playing the championship hockey game throughout the month of April.
Oh, excellent.
So people who want to see that hockey game, we will be playing that game throughout the month of April.
Along with some talent shows from the various elementary schools.
Some talent shows from the schools. Mr. Wethersfield, the competition at the high school will be on the air. So we do have a lot coming up on Wethersfield Television. We hopefully will be playing this video on the Dolphin in the month of May.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So we'd like to play that in May if possible.
Whatever.
And
as
a program.
Times you want.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
And hopefully get more awareness out on that. As far as our next time on the air, your guess is as good as mine.
Oh, April's a busy month with the Easter holiday and then spring vacation for the schools. So
just stay informed.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. That's right. We will have more upcoming shows. Watch the stroller. We'll put an announcement in the Wethersfield Post.
Oh, the League of Women Voters is interested in coming on and talk to everyone about, especially with a woman running for president this time around.
That's right.
So more to come on
With
that.
1 minute left, she starts talking about Hillary Clinton. Can you believe it? With 1 minute left.
There's a black running too.
That's right. Obama and Hillary. That's for another show. Maybe we'll do a whole show on that. But anyway, we'd like to thank you for watching, and stay tuned to Wethersfield Television for more great programs. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
More of Robbins Barstow's whale documentaries are available on the BTA Films channel on YouTube. Click here to subscribe or follow these links to other films by a master of home movie storytelling in the pre-digital era.